It was said that the forest of Okiri was older than time itself. Its roots reached deep into the belly of the earth, and its branches kissed the clouds. The villagers called it Ala Endi, the forest of life, because it gave them everything: medicine, wood, rain, even the rhythm of their drums. But one night, long after the moon had risen and the fires had died out, the forest refused to sleep. That evening had started peacefully. Children played under the moonlight. Women laughed as they roasted plantains, and the men sat sharing palm wine under the big baobab tree. The forest hummed softly, the way it always did, a gentle song of crickets and rustling leaves. But as midnight crept closer, that familiar song changed. The crickets fell silent first. Then the frogs stopped croaking. The air grew thick, heavy, like the moment before a storm. The wind that usually whispered now groaned through the branches. Old Maman Ketchi, the village herbalist, felt it before anyone else. She sat grinding herbs when her clay pots began to rattle. Her dogs whined, tails tucked, staring into the darkness outside. When she stepped out with her oil lamp, the flame flickered weakly, as if the night itself wanted to swallow it whole. "Who goes there?" she called, but only the wind answered. Then, from deep within the forest, came a sound that froze her blood. Boom, boom, boom. A heartbeat. Slow, powerful, alive. By dawn, the entire village knew something was wrong. No bird sang. No sunlight pierced the forest's edge. It was as though the trees had grown taller overnight, blocking the sky. When the hunters went to fetch firewood, they returned trembling. "The paths are gone," one of them stammered. "The forest has changed its face." That morning, Chief Uduka called the elders. They gathered under the baobab tree, faces drawn in grave. The chief's voice shook slightly as he spoke. "The forest has always protected us," he said, "but now it turns against us. What have we done?" It didn't take long for the truth to come out. 3 young men, Okchukwa, Nana, and Ibuka, had gone into the forest the previous night to cut down an iroko tree. The iroko was sacred, said to be the home of an ancient spirit that never truly slept. The elders had warned for generations. No man touches the iroko after sunset. But greed is a loud hunger. The boys wanted to carve drums to sell in the city, drums that would bring them riches and fame. They laughed at the old tales, saying spirits were for children. But as they struck their axes against the iroko's trunk, the forest had answered back. Okchukwa said later that the first strike echoed too loudly, like thunder trapped beneath the earth. The second made the wind scream. By the third, the moonlight had vanished completely. The forest had gone black. They ran, carrying what they could, the carved pieces of the iroko, and never looked back. Now, the whole village suffered for their disobedience. That night, when darkness fell again, the forest began to move. The villagers swore they saw the trees swaying though there was no wind. The ground pulsed like a living heart. From far inside the forest came a deep, rhythmic drumming, the sound of the stolen iroko beating itself. The children cried. Chickens flapped wildly in their coops. Even the river that flowed near the village turned muddy and slow. The forest was awake, and it was angry. The elders pleaded with the spirits, burning incense and pouring libations. But nothing changed. Then Maman Ketchi stepped forward. "The forest will not rest until we return what was taken," she said. "It remembers every root, every leaf, every wound." Terrified, the 3 young men carried the half-carved iroko drums to the forest's edge. As they laid them down, the wind howled like a living thing. Maman Ketchi lifted her staff and began to chant an ancient lullaby passed down from her grandmother, the Song of Sleep. Her voice wove through the trees, trembling but steady. "Sleep, child of earth. Dream, keeper of roots. Your children have wandered, but they find their way home." The ground quaked. The trees bent as if bowing. One by one, the sounds of the night returned, the crickets, the frogs, the gentle sigh of the wind. Then came a final whisper from the forest, soft but clear, "Let the forest rest." The drumming stopped. The air grew still. The heartbeat faded into silence. From that day forward, no one in Okiri dared to cut down an iroko again. When the moon was full, the villagers left food, water, and a calabash of palm wine at the forest's edge. They whispered prayers of thanks, not for fear, but for peace. But sometimes, when the moon hides behind clouds and the night feels too quiet, the villagers say you can still hear it. Faint, deep, slow, boom, boom, boom. The heartbeat of the forest, reminding them of the night it refused to sleep.